Once upon a time, in a small town, there lived a merchant named Ananda. Ananda was known far and wide for selling beautiful silk garments. He inherited the business from his father, who had run it successfully for many years. However, despite his best efforts, Ananda's business was struggling. His profits were shrinking, customers were leaving, and his competitors were thriving. Ananda was worried and confused, wondering why his business was failing. One day, as he sat in his shop, staring at the empty shelves, a wise old monk entered. The monk, named Venerable Sariputta, was respected in the town for his deep understanding of Buddhist teachings. Seeing the worry on Ananda's face, Sariputta approached him and asked, "What troubles you, my friend?" Ananda sighed and said, "Venerable Sir, my business is failing. I have tried everything I can think of, but nothing seems to work. My customers no longer trust me, and I don't understand why." Sariputta listened patiently and then said, "Perhaps what you need is not new strategies, but a new perspective. Let me share with you a story." Sariputta began his story. Many years ago, in a faraway land, there was a prosperous kingdom. The king of this land was known for his wisdom and fairness. He ruled with compassion, ensuring that his people were happy and his kingdom flourished. One day, the king decided to build a grand palace. He summoned the best craftsmen from across the land and instructed them to use the finest materials. Among these craftsmen was a humble carpenter named Banu. Banu was skilled in his craft, but was known more for his honesty and kind heart. As the construction of the palace progressed, Banu noticed something troubling. The workers and craftsmen were cutting corners, using inferior materials to save money and time. Banu, being an ethical man, could not stand by and watch this happen. He approached the king and said, "Your Majesty, I must speak with you. The palace is being built with poor materials and it will not last." The king, surprised by Banu's boldness, asked, "Why do you say this, Banu?" Banu replied, "The workers are using their skill to deceive. They are building a palace that looks grand on the outside, but inside it is weak and fragile. It may stand now, but it will not endure the test of time." The king, trusting Banu's integrity, decided to investigate. He found that Banu was right. The king was angered by the dishonesty of the workers, but he also felt grateful to Banu for his honesty. He immediately ordered the palace to be rebuilt, using the best materials and under Banu's supervision. As the new palace was completed, it became clear that this structure was not only more beautiful, but also more solid and enduring. The king named it the Golden Lotus Palace, as it symbolized purity and strength. Banu's ethical approach not only saved the king's palace, but also brought him great respect and rewards. As Sariputta finished his story, he looked at Ananda and said, "In business, as in life, the foundation you build on matters." Banu's commitment to integrity ensured that the palace was strong and beautiful. In your business, the same principles apply. If you build your business on dishonesty or shortcuts, it may seem successful for a while, but it will eventually crumble. However, if you root your practices in honesty, fairness, and compassion, your business will flourish in a way that is enduring. Ananda thought deeply about Sariputta's words. He realized that in his efforts to compete, he had strayed from the ethical path. He had started using cheaper materials, overcharging customers, and even misleading them about the quality of his goods. This was the reason his customers had lost trust in him. "Venerable Sariputta," Ananda said, "you have opened my eyes. I see now that my business must be rooted in ethical practices. But how do I start?" Sariputta smiled and said, Begin by practicing the 5 precepts of Buddhism in your business. These are not just spiritual guidelines, they are practical principles that can guide you to success. Ananda listened as Sariputta explained the 5 precepts and how they could be applied to his business. The first precept is to avoid causing harm to others. In your business, this means ensuring that your products are safe and of good quality. Do not sell anything that could harm your customers or that is made in an unethical way. When you prioritize the well-being of your customers, they will trust you and remain loyal. The second precept is to avoid taking what is not given, which also means being honest in your dealings. Do not deceive your customers with false claims or hidden fees. Be transparent about your prices and the quality of your goods. Honesty builds trust, and trust is the foundation of any successful business. The third precept is to avoid misconduct, which can also be applied to your relationships in business. Treat your employees, partners, and customers with respect. Build healthy, positive relationships. A business built on mutual respect will thrive. The fourth precept is to avoid false speech. In business, this means being truthful in your advertising and communication. Do not make promises you cannot keep. Your word is your bond. When your customers know they can trust your words, they will keep coming back. The fifth precept is to avoid intoxicants that cloud the mind, but it can also mean maintaining a clear, focused mind in your business. Do not let greed, anger, or envy drive your decisions. Instead, cultivate mindfulness and wisdom in your business practices. A clear mind will help you make wise decisions that benefit everyone involved. Inspired by Sariputta's teachings, Ananda decided to transform his business. He started by ensuring that all his products were of the highest quality, even if it meant a smaller profit margin. He stopped overcharging and made his pricing fair and transparent. He also began treating his employees with greater respect, providing them with fair wages and a safe working environment. Ananda also focused on building strong relationships with his customers. He listened to their needs, offered honest advice, and stood by the quality of his products. He even started giving back to the community by donating a portion of his profits to help those in need. Over time, word spread about Ananda's ethical business practices. Customers who had left returned, bringing new customers with them. Ananda's business began to thrive, not just because of his products, but because people trusted him and respected the way he conducted his business. Years passed, and Ananda's business grew into one of the most respected in the region. He became known as the Golden Lotus of the marketplace, a name given by his customers because of the purity and strength of his business practices. One day, as Ananda was sitting in his shop, surrounded by satisfied customers and happy employees, Sariputta returned. Ananda, seeing his old friend and mentor, greeted him warmly. "Venerable Sariputta," Ananda said with gratitude, "your teachings have transformed my life and my business. The principles you shared have not only brought me success, but also peace of mind and respect from my community." Sariputta smiled and replied, "Ananda, you did this yourself. You chose to walk the path of ethics, honesty, and compassion. Your success is a reflection of the goodness you have cultivated in your heart and your business." Ananda nodded, understanding that his journey was not just about building a successful business, but about building a life rooted in values that benefited everyone around him. Before leaving, Sariputta offered one final piece of advice. "Remember, Ananda, that business, like life, is impermanent. There will be ups and downs, but if you hold firm to your principles, you will find that you can navigate any challenge." The true wealth you have gained is not just in gold and silver, but in the trust, respect, and goodwill of those you serve." With these words, Sariputta departed, leaving Ananda to continue his journey as a successful and ethical merchant. Ananda's story spread far and wide, becoming a guiding light for other merchants who sought not just wealth, but a meaningful and respected place in their communities. They learned that by following the ethical path, they too could create businesses that were not only prosperous, but also a force for good in the world.